Hey, it's Mr. Barr, and this is part 1 for this edu lesson, and I'm calling it linear trifecta. Trifecta means 3. It's a fancy word for 3. This is a graph of a line. This graph can create a table. Let's find some of the points. Well, we have 0, 2. Let's see, we have 1, 3. And we have 2, 4. So a graph can become a table. Or it works the other way. The table can become the graph. Well, how about this? Can I find the slope from this? Yeah, the slope is up 1 over 1. So the slope is 1 over 1. And the y-intercept is at 2. Oh, so the graph can become an equation. The graph can become the equation. And if I was to graph this, well, I'd start at 2 and I'd go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Oh, so the equation can become the graph. Goes in both directions, doesn't it? So the graph can become the table. The table can become the graph. The graph can become an equation. The equation can become a graph. Well, how about this way? Can I work it this way? Let's see. Let's plug a number in. If I plug in a 0, 0 times x plus 2 equals 2. Let's plug in a 1. 1 times 1 plus 2 equals 3. Let's plug in a 2. 2 times 1 plus 2 equals 4. So notice that the equation can become the table. They are all connected. The table is connected to the equation. The table is connected to the equation is connected to the graph's connected to the table, and the other way also. All right, the magical word for this is horse. Like I am riding a horse. We know that the graph, the equation, and the table are all related, which means they all have slopes and y-intercepts in them. So from this graph, how do we find the slope and the y-intercept? So we find the y-intercept by looking. I know what I'm looking for. It always occurs on the y-axis. There's the y-intercept. In this case, it would be at 3. Based off of my drawing. How do I find the slope? Find 2 good points. Count rise and run. Right? Isn't that how I do it? I find 2 good points. Here are 2 good points. I count the rise, which is 1, 2, 3. I count the run, which is 1. It's rise over run. But I'm forgetting something. Look at this line. It's negative. Count rise and run. Put rise over run. Add a negative if needed. There we go. Find 2 good points, count the rise and the run, put rise over run, add a negative if needed. That's how I find the slope of a line. To find the y-intercept, I just look. And the magical word is race. R-A-C-E, race. We already know that a table and a graph and an equation are all connected. Now we're going to find the slope and the y-intercept from this table. I know that this is the rise and this is the run. So find the rise, the change in y. And change in x. So it was at 0, now it's at -3. There's the -3 on my rise. It was at 1, now it's at 2, so it's at +1. So my slope is -3 over 1, rise over run. Now to get the y-intercept, I have to back out the y-intercept, back out table, until x is 0. So let's back this out. 3, 2, 1, 0. -6, -3, 0, 3. The y-intercept is 3. How do I find the slope? I find the change in y and the change in x. That's rise over run. How do I find the y-intercept? I back it out until x equals 0, and there's my y-intercept. Notice, ready? This table and this graph are going together. Intercept at 3, slope of -3. Intercept at 3, slope of -3. Magical word is triple. T-R-I-P-L-E, triple. We already know that a graph and an equation and a table can all be related. Here is the equation. What one is the slope? Which one is the y-intercept? It doesn't take anything more than that. It does, you're just looking at it. Here, y equals x. What's the slope? The slope here is 1. And the y-intercept so remember, when there's nothing in front of the x, the slope is 1. When there's nothing behind the x, the y-intercept is 0. The magic word is crown, like a king wears a crown. And that's it for this edu lesson.